It's really nice to be with you today. I was pretty excited to be invited to join you. You know, this kind of opportunity doesn't come to my kind very often. I'm a physician, but I specialize in the care of older people. And we geriatricians, we are a pretty rare breed. You might not realize it, but the United States of America has only 6,000 geriatricians in a nation of 300 million people. Even worse, that number's not going up, it's going down. So for a lot of you, this actually might be the only time you ever get to see a geriatrician live and in person. Take pictures if you want. And while you do, I'm going to ask a question. Why would an aging society have a shrinking number of doctors prepared to take care of older people? The answer actually comes in just one word: ageism. You know, if you go around making jokes based on another person's gender, that's sexism. If you make jokes about another person's race, that's racism. But if you joke about somebody's age, that's called situation comedy. And if you keep watching television, the next thing you'll discover is that all the leading voices, all of the experts on aging, are all anti-aging gurus. And this is true even though in the entire history of the world, not one person has ever grown young. Even though our aging is actually hardwired into our DNA, we persist in thinking of aging as if it was a technical problem. It's not a technical problem. It's a design problem. And here's the magic. Unlike all other living creatures on this earth, human beings exert conscious control over their life cycle. Around the world and through history, human beings have given that delicate arc that stretches from death to birth a myriad of forms. You know, when Shakespeare looked at the world, he saw a life in 7 acts. In our society, we are presented with and compelled to accept a life with 3 stages: childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. And these life stages, they're not just labels. They're incredibly powerful filters through which we put all of our thoughts and feelings and emotions and sensations. In large part, who we are and how we are in the world is defined by our status as children, adolescents, or adults. And this is actually part of the problem. You see, we inhabit our life cycle so fully and completely that we've missed a radical change. It turns out that as all of us have been moving through the life cycle itself has been changing. Here's how it worked. About 60 years ago, an enormous generation was born into American society. And it was so massive and dense that really, from the very beginning, this baby boom generation actually had the power to bend our culture. It was like a massive cultural neutron star. And not only could it bend culture, it could magnify the stage of life as the boomers occupied it. I can give you a pretty dramatic example of how that worked. In the 1950s, adolescence was seen as kind of a quirky little period where people had little teenage problems before they grew up. I mean, everybody's seen Happy Days, right? Well, what happened 15 years later when that massive generation slammed into adolescence? I'll tell you what, they set off an earthquake that just pegged the cultural Richter scale. I mean, if you have one teenager, she might sneak out behind the house for a cigarette. If you have millions and millions of adolescents all pulsing with countercultural fervor, they're probably gonna surround the Pentagon and try to levitate it. In fact, as the boom